Welcome back to Beholder to No One, a D&D podcast. Today I'm here with Ryan from the Token Vault. Hello.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I am just peachy keen. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good.
And we are here to talk about a future past event because we're recording this earlier and it's being released on the 21st. But yesterday, the 20th, the Token Vault has officially gone live.
Correct. Yeah, so we've been working towards this for almost a year now. It's a project me and loads of other tabletop game creators have been working at. And so we are now live after this release. And the Token Vault is essentially a marketplace where you can buy minis for virtual tabletop or actual tabletop and have them in a printable format and completely customize them after you purchase as many times as you like. So you could, for example, you could need an army of goblins. So you could buy one goblin token and then randomize it 50 times. And then you've got an army of 50 completely different goblins there for your game. That's the idea behind it. And people seem to be interested. So I'm looking forward to this being live.
Yeah, I was playing with it earlier, and it's actually really interesting because, like, you can change the color of their hair and the color. Like, I'm looking at the female knight here, and I can have a different, like, oh, I want black obsidian armor, and you can make that work. Or
Exactly.
I know with the hobgoblin, you can have an axe or a sword, and like you can have a shield or no shield, and that's really interesting because like that little bit of customization can go a long way with making it feel like a brand new character.
It definitely can, and to be honest, there are some much more advanced ones as well, which I'll show you another time, Nikki. But we have some now that the artists are working at that have up to 15 different weapons options. They also have 4 or 5 different shields, and then you can swap the shield to an offhand weapon. You can change the armors, have different items on their belts, things like that. And then on every single token, you can change the colors of each individual part. So down to any colors you could imagine, really, for obviously skin color, hair color, colors of the armor and clothing, colors of the weapons. If you want to have a bright green sword, whatever you like, really, the options are there. So it really, for me, it developed. It was always player characters that we struggled to find minis for our games because we'd have our players. So I DM a lot of our games, and one of my players would come to me and say, I'm a dwarf barbarian, but I want my mini to have bright orange hair in a mohawk style, but I also want him to have a battle axe in one hand and a hammer in the other hand. So but then the next week he finds a new weapon in the game and decides he wants to update the token. So then he has a 2-handed great axe. So really, we wanted to create. Obviously, there are loads of platforms out there to buy artwork, but we wanted to give players the chance to just buy one token for a couple of dollars maximum, and then be able to amend that throughout his campaign. Their campaign so they can kind of update it with the story, really. So hopefully everyone else feels the same and they want to have a play around with it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm looking at the male knight now.
Yeah.
There's like different faces and different haircuts. You can have a helmet or no helmet.
Yeah.
And there's like much more weapon options. So that, like, I'm pretty excited to see that. I'm curious to see what you do with mages.
Yeah.
Mage-like characters with their different magics. I think that'll be really cool, which I'm sure you already thought of.
Yeah, so in fact, Jan, who made the token, he's from Online Tabletop. He made the male knight token you're looking at. He's just made a full Dragonkin set, and Dragonborn set, and the mage options he's created are really, really cool. So the spellcasters have. I think one of the options he's just sent through to me has something like 20 different spell appearances, and then obviously you can change all the colors on those as well. So it's very easy to make.
Is this a fireball? Is it a sunbeam? Is it what? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Is it a new fancy spell because this isn't D&D?
Exactly. Could be for any game.
That's really cool. Yeah, this is actually really fun, and it offers. Obviously, I can only see like 4 of them, so I'm sure there will be dozens and dozens of options later, which will be fun. And I like that you can buy like one at a time if you want.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to be playing a sorcerer today. Let me go look at the sorcerer mage options, this one, instead of like having to buy like a pack of them and only needing one.
Yeah, it's something we're very conscious of, to be honest. I mean, I found myself doing it before as well. In fact, I've bought a lot of tokens from the artists that are involved with us already. But one thing that you are limited to at the moment really is downloading a full pack. So you need to download. You might only want one of the tokens in a pack, but you need to buy a pack of 30 for $6, $7, up to $10 to get that one token. So we want to. Really, we want to keep it affordable for users and also make sure the artists have a good platform to sell their work without them having to do extra work, really. We'll do the work in the background for them to hopefully make additional revenue. So it's it's a platform to be reasonably priced and also help creators, improve their income.
Yes, that's actually really cool. And I like that I just realized this, but the view is the top-down view.
Yeah.
So perfect for like Roll20 and like fantasy grounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so the 4 demo tokens are all pretty much top-down view, but we also have a lot of artists involved that are doing portraits, and
Okay,
we've
that's cool.
actually we're just uploading the changes to the site this evening. We've just added a bordered option as well. So with any of your tokens, the little disc borders you can use for Roll20, well, for any game really. You can add a border to it, and then it'll print only what's within that border too. So when you save it, so most options that you see in D&D games will be available at launch.
That's very cool. So what made you? You might have already said this, and I'm sorry if you did, but what made you decide to make this option?
So for me, it was mostly because I would struggle to find a perfect token for something I wanted. So I'd need an NPC that might be a one-legged drunken pirate, and it might be something that's a little more niche, or you have you have a witch who has she's always been very good with her intentions, but then maybe she gets cursed and turned kind of dark, so her spells become more greeny, reddy colors, and they look more intense, and she starts turning slightly more evil. So her clothing becomes more dark and black and purples. And for me, it was just that I would never be able to find exactly what I wanted. So I searched really for a token editor, something like what we've created, and it didn't seem to exist. And my brother's got a background in artificial intelligence and computing, so I had a chat with him, and we the first iterations were honestly, now I look back, absolutely rubbish. We were
As
messing
they
around
always
with
are.
yeah, absolutely. So we created our own. We drafted really quickly some little cartoony style tokens. I mean, we don't profess to have any real artistic ability. We leave that to the professionals. But we created these, and we just really wanted to give people the option to have exactly what we wanted. So we started by sending it out to our party that we play a weekly D&D game. And we sent it out to all of them and said, look, have a play around with these. Here's a dwarf, a human, an elf. We covered a few of the races within D&D and just said, create what you want your character to look like, give us a bit of backstory, and then keep customizing it as we go. So each session now, my players have kind of got into the habit of sending me an updated version with anything they find a new piece of armor within the game, and it keeps going from there, really. But it's all really stemmed from not being able to find the token that you just want, that you just need. So the female knight token that you were looking at earlier, I had one of my players ask me for a female knight with so they wanted golden armor and dark hair. But if you search on Google or Roll20 or any other marketplace, you will really struggle to find exactly what you want in terms of options.
Mm-hmm.
So we just thought it would be really useful to give people the option to buy a token once and then change it to however they would like it to look. And the advantage we've got really is that we've got tons of great artists who are really talented involved that make them look amazing anyway. And then you can still change the colors of everything without affecting the standards of their work. So you still end up with a professionally hand-drawn token made. Essentially, it's a commission token to your specifications without paying hundreds of dollars to actually commission it.
Yeah, and I like that the colors is all of the colors. So it's just like if you were in Photoshop or Paint or something like that, and you wanted to pick the exact color you wanted. So that means every skin tone is available.
Absolutely. So in terms of skin tones, we are obviously very inclusive. We want to make sure any area is covered, really, from like the dark green of an orc to pale skinned humans to dark skinned humans. We want to cover any option that you like, really. So we also add random options in with every token. So we'll add color schemes that work with the token, and you can essentially randomize them just so you don't get a completely random bright purple skinned with crazy colors all over the armor. It will naturally generate you a token that looks realistic, really. But then you have the choice to change that completely. So like, if you do want a bright purple skinned token, that option is absolutely there.
That's really cool. I'm messing with the random right now.
Yeah, so we've just updated the random functions as well on there. So say you've got your armor how you'd like it to look, you've got the shields, you've got the option to randomize just the colors. Then you've got the option to randomize just the parts, so you could randomize just the armor. And then you can randomize both as well, so you can create completely random ones. I mean, like I said, they won't be completely crazily random because we want them to look kind of as they probably should, rather than having just crazy contrasting colors all over the place. But other than that,
it looks like it's when you do the random, it's natural skin colors, natural hair colors, and then once you get like a skin tone that you want, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go purple hair.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm glad you think so.
I actually like that, because it would be funny though if there was like a chaos random option and then you have like a push the button and you get like literally like bright pink skin and then like
that is a great idea, Nikki. I will have a look into that.
You're free to take it.
I really like that idea. That's I mean, I think it'll produce some interesting results, but I think it's let's I'll take a look at that.
It might. I'm sorry ahead of time for everybody who uses it, but have fun with your new chaos token. So speaking of tokens, we'll jump to D&D talk now a little bit.
Okay.
Or I guess just TTRPGs in general. So do you, obviously you play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm assuming. You said you have a game that you play in.
Yep.
Do you play any other tabletop RPGs?
To be honest, outside of D&D, the only really tabletop game I play a lot of is kind of wargaming. So I've been into Warhammer for a long time now. So me and my friends always tried to get together whenever we could, really, just to play some tabletop games. So I feel like D&D gaming has changed a lot in the last year. I've seen I never personally used virtual tabletop until the start of this year. It's always been playing in person, but I think it's genuinely for the better. I think it eliminates scheduling conflicts, which are usually it's usually the reason that people can't get together is because they've got to wait till everybody's free. And virtual tabletops eliminate all of that. Plus, you have the ability within a virtual tabletop to kind of hide specific areas. You can hide enemies away. People can't just peer over your scenery that you use on your table. But it's I think it's changed D&D for the better. But yeah, in terms of tabletop gaming, in fact, just going to board games as well. I love a good competitive board game. probably get slightly too competitive sometimes. But I mean, one of my classics is Monopoly, but it's it's caused some fallouts in our family, so we haven't played that for a while. Do you play any other TTRPGs?
So I do. So I mostly play 5th edition because that's the one I know. That's the one most people want to play.
Yeah, same here.
But one of our other shows for the podcast is Beholder to One Shot, where we try non-D&D games because there are so many games out there.
Yeah.
And I've played like a dozen or so games previously before doing the one shots, and like games like Starfinder, Pathfinder, Shadowrun, Mech Warrior, Monster of the Week. I'm trying to think of other games.
I certainly feel compelled at the minute to try playing Cyberpunk because I've never tried that.
Yes, I want to try Cyberpunk Red. The one thing I didn't realize before, I guess pre-July, and I didn't think about the games that were like one-page RPGs or indie games.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really, all the games I tried were like, hey, I'm a friend of mine on like a website or a forum-based RPG game that I was in would say something along the lines of like, hey, I'm going to try a GURPS game. Do you want to play it? And I'm like, I don't know what GURPS is. And they're like, I'll teach you. I'm like, okay, cool. Then sure, I'm in. And then I get to play an octopus engineer on a spaceship. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I love it. Ask me how to play it again. I have no idea. But
yeah, there are some great one-shots out there. And to be honest, yeah, actually, I suppose you asked me if I play any other D&D games. We do regularly take breaks in our campaigns to just kind of mess around with stupid one-shots. I mean, sorry, I say stupid, but they're just some crazy ideas out there. We had a really fun one, actually, recently where we played, I can't remember the name of the adventure, I'll try to get out, but the adventure was a team of old age pensioner gnomes that had to break out of their care home and then go on their kind of final quest together. They were retired adventurers, and it was really, really fun, actually. And they had like crazy mechanics that affected you significantly. So everyone had to take an impairment mechanic, and it ranged from the simple ones like eyesight, but then you'd have a character that had loose bowels, so you'd have to roll a d6 before making any attack, and if you rolled a 1 or 2, you evacuated your bowels for that turn, and then you had more consequences from that throughout the next few turns. So it was interesting. I
will pass on that lovely experience.
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
I have tried a lot of one-shotter and like a lot smaller games recently, and a lot of them are just like so freaking entertaining and creative, and I'm just like, holy crap, how does that brain think of this? I'm so confused. I wish I was that creative. But there's games that I've tried or that I've learned about recently that I'm just like, this is awesome. How'd you fit this on one page?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, we generally play homebrew, but I do often look at other people's adventures and think, wow, that is some real creativity there. It's I love to see other people's work.
It's inspiring to also see that there's so many genres, which honestly could tie back into the token thing, but you could literally like go into other games and open up even more doors later.
True.
What I don't know what you have already in stock, but like right now, a lot of the ones that I see are fantasy based, but you can go into the sci-fi world, you can go into the cyberpunk world or the neon punk world or the steampunk and Victorian times. Like there are so many different genres you can go, and you can also do modern based if you want to play a game more like the Dresden Files RPG. You're playing a modern day Chicago person in whatever year it is that you're playing. So you would need clothes that are fit for modern. So the options are endless. And with sci-fi, like I'm thinking Shadowrun right now, you could like have decks. Eventually you could add characters. You could add characters that are in wheelchairs that are very hard to come by token wise.
Speaking of characters in wheelchairs, Tom Kartos, one of the artists who's creating tokens with us, he's just done his first battle chair customizable token. So it's an iteration of the battle wheelchair drawn from the specs. Sorry, the lady's name.
From Mustang Art.
Yes, yes, and that's really cool, and that'll be available at launch as well. So we are including, in fact, a lot of the genres you've just mentioned there. I'm just looking back through because there's a great artist called Azzy Free. She's creating like cartoony style, and they're pretty much top-down view tokens, but they're really, really cute tokens. But she's just been working on some amazing kind of 1920 style character tokens.
Very
And
cool.
then there's some amazing Jan Lowe's from Online Tabletop as well. He's done some amazing sci-fi tokens. And in fact, Devin Knight, sorry, I forgot to mention Devin Knight. He's probably the most well-known token artist in the D&D world. He has literally 5,000 tokens that will be added slowly over time. We've got a bit of a backlog to get through, but yeah, he has such an impressive array of, such an impressive range of tokens for you to choose from.
That's awesome. So looks like that idea is already done.
It's something we want. So we don't want to restrict any artists. So we don't want any exclusivity or anything of their images. We just want to distribute them really and give them away in an editable format. So creatively as well, there's no instruction from us on when to produce anything or what to produce. They can let creativity run wild and create whatever they're in the mood to create at the time. So I had one of the artists the other day created a dwarf token, which started off looking like a dwarf, but then he made a variation where he's got a bottle in one hand and a stein of beer in the other hand, and his clothes are all torn because he's got drunk and ripped them. So there will, I mean, to be honest, to start with, we'll be in the hundreds of tokens, but a year down the line there will be limitless variations because the artists are, there are 25 artists all contributing different stuff at different levels, and they can go as crazy as they like. I love every single one of them. I think each one has a unique style, which I think is always nice to see, and I love seeing what ideas they can come up with.
So when they're creating the tokens, because they are like customizable in a set, the armor currently is the same, but the colors are different. But like with the weapons and the hairstyles and stuff like that, they have to draw each one separately, right? And they have to give it to you individually.
Yeah, essentially that's right. And we do have some that have interchangeable armors as well, so you can change. You can change from being armored to, let's say, having a jacket or clothing instead. But the artists will. We basically worked through it with them all and gave them a template of how to make them easiest to upload. So the way we tend to work is that the ones that have been created in the right formats will be uploaded first, because it only takes 20 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes to do, whereas ones that haven't been created with a token vault in mind will take 2 to 3 hours for one token. Mm-hmm. So now everyone's got into a really good rhythm. They'll draw each part individually within a Photoshop file, and then we'll put some code in behind it, make sure everything works right, and input it into the editor, and then as an item on the site. But every single aspect of these tokens is hand drawn. There's nothing taken. There's no assets taken from any other sites or anything. Each artist creates it from start to finish, and I personally think they're all brilliant in their own ways.
Yeah, I love what I've seen so far, so I'm excited to see what else is on there beyond that once it's live. And everybody who's listening, like, definitely go check out the link down below and go see what they have to offer, because again, I'm only looking at a sample and I'm super impressed.
I'm really glad you are. So we've only pushed 4 live tokens out to people at the moment, just so people can have a play around and give us some feedback, come up with ideas like a chaos randomization feature. And then obviously we'll be live by the time this is released. So yeah, everybody, take a look, try out a few of the free tokens, and feel free to email me directly as well. And so my email is ryan@thetokensvault.com. So if you have come up with any ideas that you think would be cool, feel free to approach me directly. I will happily talk it through with you.
So otherwise, let's talk about D&D again.
Yeah.
So tell me one epic story about that you've experienced with D&D, because I love hearing some stories from people as they play.
Okay, so in fact, a storyline we're playing through at the minute, I'm really enjoying. So I was trying to get my friends into D&D a couple of years ago, and all of them agreed to give it a go. So it started off with a party of five adventurers, and then me DMing. And one of them, halfway through the night, I could tell he was switching off, and he wasn't that interested. And his character was Mabusi, a human warrior, a human fighter that was very, very powerful, would kill anything that came across his path, but was very defensive of his party. And then I could tell the player himself didn't want to play D&D. So after that session, he decided he wouldn't return. So the next session, they'd woken from asleep at an inn they were at, and he'd gone missing, and they literally didn't hear anything else from him. They never saw him again until about 6 months ago, and he'd reappeared at Neverwinter and he was basically slaughtering people, innocents, left, right, and center. So it's kind of become a bit of a crazy multiverse storyline where he would fly out from a portal, murder some innocents, fly back, and they've been trying to hunt him down. So part of that storyline, they've been to 4 dimensions so far, and one of those dimensions was Earth as well. So they ended up meeting themselves within the world of D&D as their D&D characters, and tried to. And then, so where have they been? They went to. So they essentially came to Earth, to like modern day Earth. So they ended up with like iPhones as items, and getting into fights with some ruffians in the streets, and then they ended up going to a magic show, and the magician happened to be a dimensional wizard who could send them back to a different realm. And yeah, currently they are nearly at the end of this adventure, and they found out that the Mabusi, the knight that had gone missing all those years ago, he was actually from a different dimension, and their original Mabusi has now found them in the Death Realm, and they are fighting their way through the Death Realm to try and free the souls of the innocents that he's killed along the way. But it's been a really fun story to play through, to be honest.
Sounds like fun. It's always nice to turn it on its tail to like kind of just make it more epic and just absurd.
Yeah.
I know that some of the games that I've played, the Monday game that I play currently, or DM currently, it has gone through some different, very interesting routes, because I've been exploring for the first time, homebrewing an entire world and system. And very much I don't plan very often, and I'm bad about it, but I will sometimes just be like, what are we doing today? And I'll figure it out like as we're going. So that's led to some very intriguing tales. Like there was one time I had an idea. The party was in a town that was kind of based off of the red light district.
Okay.
And it was ran by a bunch of mafias, or like mafia-like crime families of sorts. And each person owned their own little area of the city, and that city was known for like one thing, whether it was smuggling or like sexual favors or drugs or something. Like each section had its own thing that they ran, and they had their own rules of that area. So when they first got to town, I gave them the option. I said, here's the families that exist. And these are things that I did plan ahead of time. But I was like, here's the families that exist, and here's what they're known for. You as a group can decide who you want to work for, because I will tell you, you need to work for somebody in order to survive
Cool.
in this town. And you could try to do it on your own, but it will be significantly harder, and there will be nowhere in the town that's technically safe from everybody. And if you don't get some type of renown, then it's just going to be more difficult for you, and you'll be a target potentially. So they ended up picking a family that worked in illegal goods, so like weapons and artifacts and black market items specifically, not with drugs or trafficking or anything too bad.
Yeah.
Which was a nice thing. I was like, okay, cool, we'll go with the good one. But there was one player who wanted to lean more towards the family that dealt with drugs.
Right.
So 3 of the 4 players, or 4 out of 5, because one person plays 2 characters.
Okay.
The one player decided, I'm going to go with this family, and the rest of them are like, we're going to go with this family. So I stole something from Shadowrun, which is I think called connections, where
Right.
the higher your connection and loyalty with this group, the better off you are with that person. So if you have like a 1, you know them, they know you, but that doesn't mean you're safe. But if you have like a 5, you're like really good friends and you can trust them, and they're not going to sell you out or anything like that.
Cool.
So I gave everybody a 3, I think, or I gave everybody a 4, and then I gave this one person, I gave him a 3 with his other person, the other family, and then a 1 with the family the rest of the party was with. And I pulled him aside one day and I said, hey, you've been going to all these events that this party's been going to, and they've been given these jobs over the last 4 months that we kind of just skipped past to give them like some kind of setup in the world. Would you be selling that information to the Grandolin family? Would you be telling them about these jobs that you were hired to do?
Nice.
Or would you be keeping it secret? And he's like, I'd probably tell them. She'd probably pay me well if I told her. I'm like, she would. Okay. Would you be cool with being the one responsible for killing some people to get said items from said events that happened? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Nice.
We're going to play a game. The game is you need to not get caught. I'm going to have you secretly roll things behind the scenes, and it's going to determine how much the party knows and caught on over the course of the last 4 months. So we did 3 flashbacks I wanted to keep wanting to say episode. We did 3 flashbacks in the story where we flash back to 3 separate events that the party as a whole was invited to, because the party that most of them worked for was the Musk family, or Misk family. And it was a man and his husband who lived there, and they like to hold house parties when they were hiring people to give jobs to. So they're like, you, and you, I need you to do this job. And at each of these events, the party was there, but they were not hired for this particular task. And on these tasks, everybody but one person was killed. And the item that they were supposed to gather was taken. So I had him roll a stealth check and a deception check. And then I had the other party members roll a
Perception.
perception and an insight.
Nice.
To see who won. And then we played out the actual scene where there was like the one person who was also suspicious, that was another suspect, and like what happened at the scene to kind of like not keep the eye on the person in the party. So we did that 3 times, and it built up a rapport with the character. So when it was today, they were able to go role play that out with the characters, like, oh, remember when we were talking at that party, like that type of thing.
Nice. Yeah, the flashback idea is brilliant. I'd never thought of using that in D&D actually, but that's something I'll have to introduce that in my games.
Yeah, I was really pleased with how it ended up going. And then at the event, they found a ring because the person who did the actual stealing, he had a ring that belonged to the mage on him.
Okay.
So he did a sleight of hand successfully into someone's pocket, but the cleric's perception was too high.
Right.
So the cleric saw it fall out of that person's pocket, he was trying to frame the other person, and the cleric just like kind of stepped over it and hit it. And then he did something I didn't think of. He scried on the blood that was on the ring.
Ah.
And I said, okay, you need you to high-low this for me. If it's high, the blood is yours, aka the players.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's low, it's the wizards, and it was the players. So he scryed and immediately saw the Tabaxi rogue in the party
Nice.
and knew what happened. So I was like, oh shit, how is this going to go? Like, are they going to turn him in? Are they going to kill him? Like, what are they going to do? And they immediately were like, he said nothing. They're like, hey, let's go back to the house. And they go back to their house. And then they immediately, as soon as they get home, they all spring on him. They capture him and they're like, why are you turning against us? And he's like, I'm not. I'm with you guys. It's like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, I was just making a little extra money on the side. I'm like, so you're not going to betray us? No. Insight pass. I'm like, they're like, okay. Well, how are we going to make this so that you can get away with it then? And they immediately assisted him and like tried to get him out of it.
Yeah.
And they found a way successfully to do it without lying to their family while still getting the items back and still making all this money. And I'm just like, I did not expect any of this.
That is, yeah. When you started talking me through the story, I instantly assumed one of your players was getting murdered by the other players. But yeah, that's teamwork. That's
I
yeah,
was
making
shocked.
money as well.
They're like, we can get paid double.
Yeah, so I love the idea of the overall storyline of having like a red light district
Yeah.
setting for a world as well. That's really yeah, I'm a big fan of that, Nikki.
Yeah, it adds a lot to the story, especially if you like darker stories.
Yeah,
But think like I wasn't really up for, and I specifically did say I'm like I don't really want to do the darker parts of this story. For at least like you could go into trafficking and things like that. I didn't want to do that, but it was leaning eventually to a more political game, which could have been a lot of fun if
yeah.
anybody else was DMing it. I cannot DM political games at all. I love playing in them. I cannot DM them.
Yeah, I don't think that would suit me well either to try and play a political game. But yeah, the whole idea of having different crime families is yeah, it's brilliant. I'm good. I think I might have to adopt that in a future storyline at some point, Nikki.
Well, you are welcome to, because that campaign is ending on Monday.
Nice.
We have been every session we've been jumping like 2 levels and doing like another quest and then jumping 2 levels.
Nice.
So they will be level 20 and saving some gods
Yeah.
Monday.
Well, why not? Why not? Yeah, that's a quick proceed to level 20.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we've been playing this campaign for. I mean, we tend to take a break now and again and play some one shots in between, and then start a kind of new arc to the adventure every few months. But yeah, I think our characters. I think the highest level character is level 12 because he got very lucky in a deck of many things, and the other guys are around level 8 or 9. So yeah, they're not feeling those god level abilities yet. They're still having a lot of near misses with most fights, to be honest, especially in the realm of death where they are at the minute.
Yeah. Do you DM usually or just play?
So whenever I get the chance to play, I love to do it because I think overall, although I really do like DMing games, I love seeing my friends have a go at it. It's a nice change. And whenever I get the opportunity to join in on a one shot with, to be fair, usually people I don't know, actually, I'll happily join in and play a character in those because I think it's a lot. I do generally find playing the game a lot more fun than just running it as a dungeon master. I find, I suppose, although I still do get to do it as a DM, I like using the personality of a certain character and just concentrating on that and developing the character itself, rather than trying to run, multiple NPCs, enemies, and everything else. How about you, Nikki? What do you prefer in general?
I prefer playing. I
Yeah.
do enjoy DMing to a point, but I also currently play a little bit too much, which isn't a problem you think you would have.
It's yeah, most people struggle to find a game, but yeah, if you're playing too much, it's yeah, it's a nice one to have at least. I mean, I love the game. Whenever I get the chance, I'll always jump in a game. It's I mean, so role playing games in general, I've always enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. I ended up stepping down from, well, not stepping down yet, but I told them, like, hey, I need to figure out how to step out of this game, or I may need to step out soon.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing 3 personal games a week and DMing 1 game, and that doesn't count anything I record for
Wow.
podcasts.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm like, I'm tired. I kind of overbooked myself. And then I'm supposed to be starting another podcast I start another podcast tomorrow as a player only, which shouldn't be too bad, but that's again
Yeah.
another game a week. And then I'm supposed to start another podcast next year.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, something has got to give.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that sounds unsustainable. To be fair,
Yes.
yeah. I look forward to hearing how gruesomely your character dies, then, Nikki, in that game that you're stepping down from.
Yeah, I don't think in one of them I don't think the character is gonna die. They are currently in a town and she hasn't been in the game for very long.
Oh, okay.
And she joined I think like 4 or 5 sessions ago. And I had all intentions of staying and then I didn't think about it much until I was like, oh wait.
Yeah.
Right. Playing for 6 to 9 hours in one day might be a lot.
Yeah. That's a fair amount. I mean, again, it's a fun thing to have too much of, but it's also when you've got other stuff to do in the meantime. It's I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably dream of being able to play D&D full time, but when you've got a podcast to run, and then by the sounds of it, plenty of other podcasts to be
Yeah.
working on as well, it's yeah, that sounds intense.
Thankfully, I'm joining Awfully Queer Heroes, and
Oh, nice.
they go live, I want to say mid-January for the first
Okay.
session. I specifically stated, like, I can't edit. I cannot DM and I cannot edit. I don't
Yeah.
have time for that. I can play. I will show up to play. So they were cool with that and understanding. So we had that discussion ahead of time. And then the same thing with the other game that we're running that doesn't have a name yet. Got together a group a month or 2 ago for a sci-fi, I believe, Savage Worlds game.
Nice.
And things have been kind of chaotic because originally it was going to be me or one other person DMing,
Yeah.
and just life has gotten in the way for the other person. So we've been like holding off, and we're like, okay, we'll make a decision for next year. But I personally don't want to try DMing that either. But if I have to, I will.
Yeah.
But I am not editing that one, which is good because that's like especially if I DM it, that's already a lot. But
Yeah.
I would rather not DM. But we did we got a person on there who said they were willing to edit it, and I'm like, thank God you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. I mean, so I grew up in a kind of a different industry, really. My dad was a sound engineer, so all he ever did was constant editing of soundtracks and albums, yeah, it's not the quickest process. And again, you just said it there about having time to DM. I think a lot of people overlook how much prep and work goes into being a DM. You know, you've got NPCs to create, you've got storylines to create, you've got potential outcomes, or you've got somewhere you'd like the story to end up, but maybe the party want to just completely screw you over and go in another direction. So it's yeah, I mean, that's part of why I like to play sometimes, to just kind of take a break, only think in a single tracked way. And it feels like a nice break from having to constantly think, where can this go next,
Yeah. The harder thing for me is, like, thankfully with podcasting I can edit, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why I like podcasting versus streaming.
Yeah.
I can mess up and then easily go, oh, whoa, scratch that, let me try again and
Oh, that's a
repeat
good idea.
myself.
Yeah.
My concern with, even though I've been DMing for a while,
Yeah.
I still don't feel like 100% confident, which I think most DMs are like that. But I've been told, like, by some friends, like, I like your games, this is why I'm in their games, and blah blah blah, which I appreciate 1000%, and I love them for saying those things. But it's different when it's like, you're my friend and you're playing, and it's like, I'm an audience member listening.
Yeah.
They don't have to be nice to me. It's like my fragile heart can't deal with it if you pick on me. Like some of my friends, they know how to word things properly with me and like say, hey, these are where you can improve and so on and so forth. And that would be fine. It's the not so nice people that I wouldn't be really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And also like other DMs, I'm like, you are just so much funnier than I am. Please, please, you, please, you DM. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of DMs are the same, and I think they probably underestimate. I think you probably are underestimating yourself there, Nikki. But yeah, I do always think when I'm listening to I listen to a lot of actual play podcasts, and I do always think, wow, these ideas. I mean, you've just done it there with me now with the crime families and the red light districts, and having the players choose a family to work for. That is, it's an idea that I don't think I would have ever come up with, but I think everyone improves as they go, really, and as you listen to more, you naturally gain more ideas, and I think the games come off better for it, really.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that a lot of people improve with time as well.
Yeah, of course.
Like there is like a lot of things that I've used in my homebrew, I've taken from like video games or something like that. Like I don't know if you ever played Final Fantasy 14.
I haven't actually. I was discussing this either yesterday or the day before with a couple of other artists. I am one of the strange people that has never played a Final Fantasy game.
So Final Fantasy 14 is the MMO, and
Yeah,
I absolutely adored it. I kind of like lost not interest, but I finished the story
yeah.
and then I got distracted by other things and I just didn't have time and didn't want to pay for it anymore because it is a monthly subscription.
Okay.
But the newest, well, I don't know if there's another expansion yet, but the last expansion I played was absolutely amazing. Like the line was perfect in my opinion, and I loved it. And there was a town specifically that I stole the concept of for my game, where it was a gigantic crystal town,
Cool.
and the town was like ginormous. It was uh basically like a giant skyscraper but made out of crystal, and in front of the town was all these poverty stricken homes where people were trying to win their way into the town. And every year or every couple of months they would do a raffle kind of thing where you had to impress someone to join and get into the ranks of into the town, because they were under the impression that if you got into the town you were safe, you were fine, you could get whatever
Okay.
you want, your wildest dreams could go true,
Nice.
which was true and wasn't.
Right.
So the players, you and the other NPCs, you discover what's actually going on in the town, which I don't want to spoil it, but you figure out what's going on in the town, and the town is run by all these greedy rich people who get whatever they want because they're rich, which
Yeah.
was very prevalent to like real life. And then the people who were broken, lonely, lowly, they worked their butts off in the town, constantly trying to impress these higher ups so that they could stay. And everybody who lived there lived in this haze of misunderstanding of what was actually going on behind the scenes. And it wasn't until like later in the story, like end of the story, that you realize what's actually happening. And
Okay.
it's really dark, but the world itself, like I based the city off of the tower, and like the wealthy lived here, and this was a safe place for the wealthy and the richest of the rich.
Hmm.
And they lived in this like bubble of security where it could come all crumbling down if they found out the truth, or if people were actually like, hey, you realize what's happening here, right? Because they were fed all these lies their entire life. And that was something Final Fantasy came up with, and it was very well done, even if it was a little sad,
Yeah.
or very sad. But the ending for that was just like, holy fuck, like what is happening? Like I'll tell you after we're done recording
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
looking
know.
forward to it.
But
Yeah, yeah,
um
I think I do.
I don't want to spoil it for people who actually are playing, because it is like, I think it was released 2019, 2020, so it's still a fairly new game.
Yeah, yeah. Avoid the spoiler alert. Yeah, it's,
Exactly.
I'll chat about it afterwards.
But the party never got there. Like they never went that direction. So they
Yeah.
never were able to explore that town, and it didn't come up. But I got that. Yeah, I got that from Final Fantasy, and I was just like, oh, this works. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of times that happens. Like I had a whole potential storyline planned. So they basically the party when they were fairly low leveled. In fact, my brother was DMing the game, and we came against this vampire. We fought with it for hours and hours, and essentially it became like the most stupid combat ever. Like we fought all the way through this castle out onto the rooftop, and then he just turned into a bat and flew away. Right when we thought we were about to kill him, and I had this whole other storyline planned where they could just go and finally kill this vampire that had haunted them, Periwinkle the vampire, because but they totally missed all my hints towards it. Like there were wanted posters, there were people talking about it in the town, and they were just so distracted by wanting to go drinking and get drunk and speak to people, just speak to other people in the town, that they completely missed the chance to do it. We might revisit it another time, but it seems a common theme within my games that I'll envision a story going somewhere, and they just see something completely different and do just do everyday things. You know, they want to go learn to be a blacksmith, or they want to go just drink in a bar for hours on end. Which, to be honest, I do usually enjoy. There are some drinking mechanics I got from a website where they do often end up in stupid situations, but yeah, it's fun. But that's another element of the of DMing that just it can be difficult to come up with other ideas on the fly that could work within the story.
yeah, exactly. So, did you have anything else you wanted to discuss?
To be honest, no. It's nice to just have a chat around D&D in general. To be honest, it's nice to kind of have these relaxed conversations and come up with some great ideas in the process. I'm definitely going to have to credit you with the chaos randomize function whenever that comes in. But yeah, no, I've just enjoyed having a nice chat. To be honest, Nikki.
Yeah, it's always fun. That's why I love these episodes, because I can just sit down and talk to somebody that I haven't necessarily been able to talk to for longer than a few messages on Twitter,
Yeah.
and just kind of bond over our shared passion of tabletop games.
Yeah, I found that recently as well. So there is such a nice community, which I mean I can tell you're definitely involved with a lot of people that I am too on Twitter, and within the tabletop RPG world, there just seems to be a really nice bonds forming everywhere. You know, I consistently have nice conversations with people, and I'm really enjoying being involved with people like you, and it's it's a really nice community to be a part of.
Yeah, I completely agree. If it wasn't for the people, I would probably still not be here. Like, I very much am a social. I like don't like social stuff when I am in large groups and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I love to be a social butterfly when it comes to like constantly talking to people online.
yeah,
And if there wasn't that interaction, I would have stopped using Twitter way sooner. Like, I'm very thankful for the friends that I've made, specifically the ones that I talk to like every single day.
yeah,
Like, we have, you might have seen like the Pod Squad mentioned a couple of times.
yeah.
We talk to each other like daily, and it could just be like a hello or a good morning, or it could be like, oh my god, I need to vent about something, or hey, I need advice, or look at this cool thing I made. Like, it's just small things that is a safe place for the 13 of us to discuss whatever we want. And it's really nice to have that.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it really is.
So if you're listening and you are new to this world, I highly suggest you get your own little pod squad, but name it something else, because that's our name. You can't have it. Even though other
Yeah,
people had it before us. That's besides the point.
yeah. I would say that to anybody as well. If you're new to this world, if you're new to Twitter, if you're new to podcasting, just speak to people, because there are plenty of people out there that are willing to help people out. Nikki's helped me out loads on Twitter, sharing stuff, and just chatting really, and it's nice to just become part of a new community, really. Yeah, I mean, I'd never really used Twitter before until I think August or September this year, and it's been a really positive experience for me. I think probably a lot of people imagine that there's trolls and people wanting to cause hassle everywhere, but I think this is I would say quite a safe corner of the internet in the TTRPG world, because people just want to play games and have fun.
For the most part. I
Yeah,
would
for the
also
most part.
say, like, make sure you're standing up for those that are being targeted by the people who we don't want in the community.
Yeah.
There are some assholes out there, and there are some people who have this strange idea that they own D&D or own tabletop RPGs, and that's not the case. The systems are for everybody, no matter what gender, sexuality, race, religion, ability that you are. You can play the games. And if one game doesn't work for you and that's not your cup of tea, then there are dozens, if not hundreds, of other tabletop games out there for you. We focus on D&D here, but I love other games, like we've mentioned before. There are literal dozens. If you want some suggestions, Beholder to One Shots is one of our shows. You can go catch the about 9 different games, I think, out right now that we've played so far.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you don't like, there's 5e supplementals. Like, if you don't like the race options, check out An Elf and an Orc Had a Little Baby. That book is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
I haven't seen that, actually. I'll have to check that out. That sounds
Oh my god, it's so great.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I know a lot of D&D writers as well who put out some great content, and often the supplementals are better than their content produced by Wizards of the Coast. It's there are things created by indie creators that are just as good as what you can get for spending. You don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds to play D&D. There's enough free content out there, and very reasonably priced content by smaller creators that need the support that is just as good, if not better.
So, An Elf and an Orc Had a Little Baby, that it's $18 on DM's Guild.
Oh, nice.
But it's very worth it. Basically, you can make any half race creature you want. You are not limited to half orc and half elf anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, to be honest, but I suppose, why were we limited to that in the normal game?
Exactly. And not only that, the way that the book is written is you could go with like the blanket options that they have. So, like, let's say you wanted a Aarakocra and a bugbear, hypothetically. You could pick the blanket races that they have, and it shows you how to combine those, so you can just make a pure half and half. Or you can go into detail and build your ancestors, and you can use what they have to build who you are.
Oh, nice.
Or you can use a point buy system that they have options for as well, to pick out traits, and like negative traits like light sensitivity will give you more points to spend to balance it out.
Nice.
But my favorite thing about it, your attributes are not tied to your race.
Okay. That works.
So gnomes are not +2 intelligence for every single gnome. It's based off how you were raised. So if you were raised in a intellectual environment, you could be a orc hybrid with another class and have a +2 into your intelligence, because you were raised in an intellectual environment where studying was a thing that was important to you and your family.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. I mean, I think a lot of races within D&D are neglected, to be honest, because they end up with passive traits that are either not useful or wouldn't fit with the class. But no, that's such a good idea to have a backstory behind why you would have an increase to your wisdom or your intelligence or your strength. That's a great idea. I'm going to definitely check that out after this, Nikki.
Exactly. Like, it made me so happy, because like I love to play the characters that don't make sense necessarily. Like halfling barbarians.
Oh yeah.
They're so much fun. Or like, what if I want to play a half orc or a full orc wizard? I want that to be an option. And thankfully, like in 5th edition, there's not as many negatives, and the negatives that did exist, I think they got rid of. So I think Kobold had a negative, and I think that's gone now.
Yeah.
But it didn't make sense to me. Like in 3.5, I think had it, where you would have negatives to
Yeah.
stats. It's like, oh, well, you're this race, therefore you're more stupid. It's like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a
Why?
very good point. Yeah, very good point. Yeah. Yes, I haven't had a look at Tasha's Cauldron of Everything yet as well, but I hear that makes some changes to some of the race mechanics in 5e.
Yeah, I've heard that it's better, but it's not where it should be.
Right.
But I haven't looked at it either, so I'm not 100% sure, and I can't like speak upon
Yeah,
that.
fair enough. Well, either way, sorry, what was the title of the book again? Was it?
An elf and an orc had a little baby.
Yeah, I mean, great title as well. It's yeah, that sounds much more fun.
I guess it continues parentage and upbringing in D&D.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, why wouldn't it? Really, it's a sensible option.
Exactly. Another, like, there's a couple other books that I love, like Wilderness Survival
Yeah.
Guide is another one that I absolutely adore. That was a 5th edition supplement that is pay what you want on DM's Guild.
Yeah.
Hammond's Handbook and Hammond's Harvesting Handbook version 2.
Yeah.
Both are freaking fantastic. Like, those are my 4 go-to right now that I absolutely love. I love the aspect from Hammond's Handbook and the Wilderness Survival Guide. I love the aspect of being able to go and explore and gather things and use that to help you.
Yeah.
And I like that in the Hammond's Handbook, it's very much emphasis on you don't necessarily have to just find magical items just laying around, because I think that happens a little too much in a lot of our games.
Yeah.
It's like you're exploring, you just happen to find a magic item. Like, those are worth a lot of money. People aren't just leaving them laying around as much as we say they are.
Yeah, it's a very good point, actually. It's something I suppose I've never really thought about it that much, but yeah, I suppose it is kind of strange that it seems like every big boss you fight, they just happen to leave a sparkly necklace lying around with some crazy magic ability that's probably worth thousands of gold. But yeah, it's it's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. So like the Hammond's one, it has like charts for almost, I think, every creature.
Yeah.
Where you have to roll a certain check and you can see if you are able to appraise what they can offer, and it's not just reliant on one skill. It varies depending on the type of creature, which I love, because if it's normally, it's just like roll a survival check, roll another survival check, roll another survival check, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
And then, like, depending on how well you do depends on what you get, and the higher DC items can be used to make magic items, and they have recipes for like what you need and what type of abilities you need to do it. And I love that aspect. And I like, yes, there is like some type of magic crafting in 5th edition.
Yeah.
But I wanted something more, and this gave it to me. So thank you, Bill, for showing me this book. I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. Actually, it's a brilliant. Well, there are several volumes, aren't there? Actually, but
yeah, I haven't looked at 3 yet, but I'm pretty sure it's about the same. It just offers more monsters.
And also, whoever did the art for those covers, well done, because I really like that style.
Let me see. I think it says in the book.
Let's see.
Cover art, Lucas Jakowski.
Lucas Jakowski, well done. That's some nice illustrations.
Yes. All other art was provided by Wizard of the Coast under the DM's Guild Creator Content Program. But the cover art was Lucas Jakowski. But yeah, so check out some of those books and give them some love on the DM's Guild. I think the Hammond's books are $10.
Yeah, just $10 each, which seems very reasonable for such a large amount of content in there.
Yeah. The first book's 150 pages, so you get a ton of pages in that $10. And the Elf and Orc Had a Little Baby is 113 pages, but there are literally 24 different types of races that you could play as in here, including dragon marks.
Yes.
So there's lots of stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is as well, by buying supplements like that as well, you're helping smaller creators who need the money much more than large publishing companies, which is something I'm always a huge fan of. I'm a big fan of Patreon, actually, because I support a lot of different creators on there.
Speaking of Patreon, if you want to support our Patreon, we have one.
Yeah, so
listeners.
yeah, make sure you check that out. And also, the Token Vault will have a Patreon where you'll be able to get some discounts in late December.
There you go. But yeah, speaking of smaller creators and supporting them, go check out the Token Vault in the description down below and give all the artists a little bit of love and see all the tokens, because I'm super excited to see where this leads. Where can everybody find you?
So we have a website which is thetokenvault.com with a dash between each word. So it's the-token-vault.com. You can also find us on, I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram. So my username on Instagram is just Token Vault. And it's the same on Twitter as well. So at Token Vault. If there's anything you want to chat about, feel free to just tag me and I will respond fairly quickly. I'm usually active on there most of the hours of the day. I'm usually working till the early hours of the morning too. So yeah, between that 4 or 5 hours sleep in between, I will respond to you as soon as I can.
Sounds great. And check out all those links down below. And you can also find us on Twitter at Beholder to No One, or Facebook, where we're significantly less active, at Beholder to No One. You can find us on our website at beholdertoknown.com. And if you enjoy these episodes and you haven't yet, please check on iTunes. You can leave a review. 5 stars would be preferred, and a lovely comment. We have 15 reviews so far, and I would love to see yours with it. But as I mentioned, we also have a Patreon, and we can be found wherever podcasts can be found. I will link them down below, or Greg will, because Greg will be putting this episode up for me. Thanks, Greg. There are 3 playlists now on Spotify. If you are using Spotify and you specifically want to find just our discussion episodes, or just our one-shot episodes, or just our actual play, there are 3 separate playlists now, and you can just binge listen to those. If you haven't already checked out our last episode of our Beholder to One Shot Mall Kids just went live on Thursday. That was such a fun game. Please go give that some love. And then the previous Thursday, we had episode 8 of Behold Clear Lights. So this week, episode 9 will be coming out. So please check both of those out if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you, Ryan, so much for joining. This was a blast.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Nikki. I've really enjoyed it. And as usual as well, thank you for all the support you offer us on Twitter. And yeah, just wanted to say I personally listen to your podcast whenever I get the chance. And it's really enjoyable. And one of those 5-star reviews is mine.
Yay! Love 5-star reviews. Be like Ryan, leave a review.
Definitely, do it.
All right. Thank you guys for joining, and have a great one. Bye.